The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead as Mason's world shattered in the middle of O'Hare International Airport. His mother's voice still echoed in his ears, "You're too gay for this family. Mason, I can't watch you destroy yourself," right before she turned on her heel, ticket in hand, and vanished into the throng of hurried strangers bound for anywhere but here. At 19, with nothing but a backpack stuffed with thrift store clothes and a one-way heart full of unspoken pleas, he sank to the cold tile floor, the weight of abandonment crushing his chest like a freight train that never stopped. Tears blurred the sea of rolling suitcases and oblivious faces. But Mason didn't scream or chase her. He just sat there, knees drawn up, whispering to the void. What now? The airport's relentless hum swallowed his words. A symphony of indifference that mirrored the life he'd fled a small town in Ohio where whispers turned to shouts. And love meant hiding who you were. He'd come out last summer, hoping for arms open wide, but got slammed doors instead. This trip was supposed to be a fresh start, a Greyhound bus to Chicago, a cousin's couch, maybe a job flipping burgers. Instead, it ended with his mom spotting the rainbow pin on his jacket during their layover fight, her face twisting into something unrecognizable. Hours bled into the night shift of the terminal. Security eyed him like yesterday's trash. But no one asked questions. Mason's phone died at 2 a.m. The last tether to a world that had cut him loose. Hunger gnawed, but pride kept him from begging. He dozed in fits against a pillar, dreaming of the boy who'd kissed him under the bleachers back home, stolen moments that tasted like freedom until they didn't. Dawn cracked through the massive windows, painting the floor in gold, when a wet nose nudged his hand. He jolted awake to find a scruffy mutt staring up at him. Golden retriever mix with matted fur and eyes like melted chocolate. A collar half buried in grime but glinting with a tag, "Lucky." The dog didn't bark or bolt. It just plopped down beside him, tail thumping softly against the tile as if saying, "You're not alone, kid." Mason's fingers trembled as he scratched behind its ears, the warmth seeping into his frozen bones. "Hey, boy," he murmured, voice cracking. "You lost too." Lucky licked his palm, tasting salt from dried tears. And for the first time since the abandonment, Mason cracked a ghost of a smile. Airport staff shooed them toward the exit, muttering about strays. But Mason scooped up his backpack and followed the dog's lead out into the crisp Chicago morning. The city sprawled before him like a beast towers scraping the sky, horns blaring, the promise of reinvention laced with peril. They wandered the streets near the loop. Lucky's leash improvised from a belt loop on Mason's jeans. The dog moved with purpose, weaving through sidewalks slick with October rain, pausing at food carts for scraps Mason couldn't afford. His stomach twisted, but the mutt's steady presence dulled the edge. "What are you even doing out here?" Mason asked, kneeling to check the tag again. No address. Just Lucky etched in faded script. A phone number was scratched out, like someone had tried to erase its past. He pocketed the thought, focusing on survival. A shelter. Nah. He'd heard the horror stories, euthanasia lines. Lost souls like him, and this dog funneled into oblivion. By noon, exhaustion hit like a wall. They ducked into a park off Michigan Avenue, the kind with manicured lawns and joggers who didn't glance twice at a disheveled teen and his stray. Mason collapsed on a bench, Lucky curling at his feet. The dog's head rested on his knee, and as Mason stroked its flank, a faint bulge under the collar caught his Fingersa sealed envelope, taped crudely, hidden like contraband. Curiosity flickered, but he pushed it down. Not now. Survive first. The envelope crinkled softly, whispering secrets he wasn't ready for. Instead, he pulled out his dead phone, willing it to life with sheer desperation. But the screen stayed black. A shadow fell over them. Rough night. The voice was warm, edged with gravel, belonging to a guy about Mason's age, early 20s, maybe with cropped black hair, olive skin, and a jawline that could cut glass. He wore a barista apron over a band tee, coffee stains like badges of honor, and carried a to-go cup that steamed invitingly. His eyes, dark and kind, locked on Lucky first, then softened on Mason. That dog's got better instincts than half the people in this city. Name's Alex. You two look like you could use this. He extended the cup black coffee, strong and bitter, the kind that burned away doubt. Mason hesitated, throat tight. Strangers didn't just help. But Lucky's tail wagged furiously, as if vouching for the newcomer. Mason, he said finally, accepting the cup with numb fingers. And this is Lucky. Found Heimer, he found meet the airport. The words tumbled out unbidden, the fight, the abandonment, the hollow ache of being too gay for blood ties. Alex listened without flinching, nodding like he'd heard it before, which he had in dive bars and pride rallies, in the quiet confessions of friends who'd lost everything for authenticity. Sounds like bullshit, Alex said plainly, sitting uninvited but welcome. Family's what you build, not what dumps you curbside. My folks tried the same sermon when I came out at 16. Dad walked out instead. Easier to lose a son than face mirrors, I guess. His laugh was self-deprecating, but his gaze held steady, sparking something in Mason's chest, a flicker of connection, raw and electric. They talked for an hour, words weaving like threads, Alex's life waitering at a queer-friendly cafe, Mason's dreams of art school dashed by small-town bigotry. Lucky dozed between them, the envelope's secret dormant for now. As the sun climbed, Alex stood. Crash at my place tonight. It's a shoebox in Wicker Park, but the couch is yours. And Lucky's got full run of judgments. Mason's pulse raced. Trust a stranger. But the alternative was another night on concrete. And those eyes, they promised more than shelter. Yeah, he whispered. Thanks. The walk to Alex's was a blur of L tracks rumbling overhead, street vendors hawking pretzels, the city's pulse sinking with his own hesitant hope. Inside, the cramped apartment posters of indie bands, a pride flag draped like a curtain. Lucky explored with joyful sniffs, while Mason showered off the airport grime, emerging to find Alex plating ramen from a pot. That night, as rain pattered the fire escape, they shared stories by candlelight. Power flicker from a storm. Alex's hand brushed Mason's over a shared bowl, lingering just long enough to ignite sparks. You're brave. You know that, Alex murmured, voice low, walking away from poison. Mason's cheeks burned, but he leaned in, their lips meeting, soft and tentative, tasting of salt and second chances. It wasn't fireworks. It was a hearth, steady against the gale. Lucky watched from the rug, Tail thumping approval. The envelope still tucked away. Its contents a ticking clock neither knew was set. Days blurred into a fragile rhythm. Mason hustled odd jobs dog walking gigs Alex hooked him up with. Ironically starting with Lucky while crashing on that lumpy couch that smelled of patchouli and possibility. The city embraced him in fits, a brutal wind off Lake Michigan that stole his breath. A drag brunch where queens and sequins cheered his sketches on napkins. The quiet terror of checking his empty bank app. But Alex was the anchor. Their nights tangled in whispered confessions and exploratory touches. Bodies learning the language of mutual salvation. I think I'm falling, Mason admitted one dawn. Tangled in sheets they'd claimed as their own. Alex grinned, tracing freckles on Mason's shoulder. Good. 'Cause this city's better with a partner in crime. Lucky, ever the sentinel, would nudge between them for belly rubs. His presence a bridge from despair to dawn. Yet shadows lingered. Mason's phone, charged now, buzzed with blocked numbers, his mom's voicemails. Deleted unheard. And that envelope. He'd peeked once, glimpsing a name, Elias Grant, and a lawyer's letterhead. But fear sealed it shut. What if it was nothing? Or worse, everything? 2 weeks in, the bubble burst. A call from the airport lost and found. Lucky's owner reported missing. Reward posted. Panic clawed Mason's gut. We can't give him up, he pleaded to Alex over greasy diner fries. But the ad circulated viral on local X posts. A golden dog with soulful eyes. Stolen heart of the windy city. Reporters sniffed around Alex's cafe. And suddenly, their haven felt exposed. Mason's sketches, hidden in his backpack, depicted Lucky as a hero. But now he was a headline. Beloved pet vanishes, family desperate. The knock came at midnight. Mason froze in the dim kitchen, Lucky at his heels. As Alex answered. A woman in her 50s. Elegant coat, frayed hems. Stood their eyes red-rimmed, clutching a photo of the dog. Please, she said, voice breaking. He's all I have left of my son. The room tilted. Elias Grant, her son. Gone a year ago to suicide. The note blaming a world that couldn't love him as he was. Lucky had been his. Microchipped with that hidden envelope, a trust fund. Willed to whoever found and kept the dog. For the one who sees the worth in strays like us. Tears streamed as she explained the money. $500. 000. Earmarked for queer youth shelters. But only if the finder proved worthy by cherishing Lucky. Elias, gay and shunned, had foreseen this, a legacy of love from the ashes. Mason's hands shook. The envelope now open on the table. Words blurring. To the stranger who saves my boy, save yourself too. The woman Elias's mom. Miriam didn't demand the dog back. Instead, she enveloped Mason in a hug, whispering, he chose you. Both of you. Word spread like wildfire. Reporters camped outside. But Alex shielded them, his arm a fortress around Mason's waist. The fund poured in. Not just cash, but purpose. Mason enrolling in art school. Channeling pain into murals of resilience. His own mom surfaced weeks later. Letter in hand. Apologies laced with regret. I was wrong. She sobbed over a payphone call. Forgiveness wasn't instant. It was a slow thaw. Starting with coffee in a neutral diner. Lucky under the table as mediator. Months later, under a pride rainbow arching Chicago's sky, Mason and Alex exchanged rings, simple bands etched with paw prints. Lucky, collar polished, trotted beside, the secret that bound them all now a beacon. In the end, abandonment birthed belonging, and a dog's hidden heart proved that love, once found, rewrites every ending. But the real unraveling began the next morning, when sunlight sliced through the blinds like accusations. Mason woke to the scent of burnt toast and Alex's humming a off-key rendition of some indie folk tune that made his heart stutter. Lucky was already up, paws clicking on the linoleum as he begged for scraps at the counter. Morning. Sleepyhead, Alex called, flipping eggs with a spatula that had seen better days. His smile was easy, but Mason caught the flicker of doubt in his eyes, the what-ifs of inviting a stranger into this fragile sanctuary. They ate cross-legged on the floor, plates balanced on knees, Lucky snatching morsels when they weren't looking. Conversation flowed like the coffee, steaming and bold, Alex's gig at the Beanery, a hole-in-the-wall cafe where the espresso was strong and the gossip stronger. All queer staff trading stories of hookups and heartbreaks. Boss is a riot former RuPaul's contestant. Keeps the straights at bay with shade. Alex chuckled, but his fork paused midair. You. What's the plan? Mason. Can't hide from the world forever. The question hung heavy, mirroring the backpack slumped by the door like an uninvited guest. Mason pushed eggs around his plate, the airport scene replaying in Technicolor, his mom's grip on his arm, nails digging crescents. Her whisper hiss. This isn't you. It's a phase. Come home. Pray it out. He'd yanked free, the rainbow pin glinting like a declaration of war. Now, in Alex's sun-dappled kitchen, the phase felt like his entire soul. Art, he said finally, voice steadying. I sketch people. Mostly. Faces that tell stories no one hears. He pulled out a notebook from his pack, pages curled from humidity, flipping to a charcoal drawing of his high school crush, eyes shadowed with unspoken longing. Alex leaned in, breath warm on Mason's neck. Damn. That's. You see the hurt, but also the fight. Ever think of selling these? Their shoulders brushed, a spark jumping the gap, and Mason's pulse quickened. It was too soon. Too much. But Alex's presence was a balm, smoothing the raw edges of betrayal. They spent the morning like that, Alex sketching critiques, Lucky providing comic relief by stealing pencils until noon, called Alex to work. Stay put, he said, pressing keys into Mason's palm. Explore if you want, but lock up. Neighborhood's chill, but eyes are everywhere. Alone. The apartment echoed with possibility and peril. Mason paced, Lucky trailing like a shadow, until restlessness won. They ventured out. The L train screeched a siren song to adventure. Wicker Park buzzed, vintage shops with vinyl records spinning in windows. Murals of fierce faces staring down passers-by. The air thick with weed and fresh-baked bagels. Lucky Drew Smileysa barista slipped him a biscuit. An old lady cooed over his angel eyes, but Mason felt exposed. His hoodie a flimsy shield against stares that lingered too long. At a corner park, they claimed a bench under maples shedding crimson leaves. Mason's pencil flew, capturing a couple, two women entwined on a blanket, unapologetic in their love. Envy twisted sweet in his gut. He'd never had that. Not really. Back home, kisses were stolen in truck beds, always glancing over shoulders. Lucky's head in his lap grounded him. The dog's warmth a reminder that some bonds formed without words. But as dusk fell, a group of teens sauntered by, jerseys emblazoned with a rival team's logo, voices slurring. Fag and his mutt. One sneered, tossing a crumpled can that clattered near Lucky's paws. Mason's blood-iced, but he froze old instincts from Ohio alleys, where words like that came with fists. Lucky growled low, hackles rising, positioning between them and the threat. The kids laughed it off, wandering away, but the encounter lodged like shrapnel. Back at the apartment, Alex found him curled on the couch, Lucky draped across his chest. "Hey," Alex said softly, kneeling to meet his eyes. "Talk to me." The dam broke, Mason spilling the fear, the fragility of this new life. Alex pulled him close, lips brushing his temple. "You're safe here. We fight back together." That night, boundaries blurred further. What started as comfort evolved into exploration, hands mapping unfamiliar territories, breaths sinking in the dark. Alex's touch was reverent, whispering affirmations, beautiful, brave, mine, if you want, until Mason arched into the light of dawn. Spent and seen. Lucky snored from his bed in the corner, oblivious to the shift. But the envelope under his collar seemed heavier, as if sensing the stakes rising. The following week tested that vow like steel in a forge. Mason landed a gig walking dogs for the neighborhood, elite irony not lost, given Lucky's starring role in his resume. The app paid decent, enough for bus fare and the occasional falafel wrap. But the clients were a mixed bag, harried moms who eyed his sensitive vibe, tech bros who tipped poorly while scrolling Grindr. One afternoon, in Lincoln Park, leashing a yappy chihuahua named Tito, disaster struck. The owner, a burly contractor named Rick with a CrossFit build and a beer gut, arrived early, catching Mason mid-sketch on his phony a quick doodle of Tito's ridiculous bow tie. "What's that?" "Picasso." Rick snatched the phone, scrolling with a smirk that curdled. The gallery held more than dogs, Alex asleep, lashes fan like secrets, Lucky mid-leap, a self-portrait, raw with post-abandonment shadows. "Jesus. Kid. You some kind of artist fairy." The word landed like a slap. Casual cruelty wrapped in Midwest drawl. Mason's face flamed, heart hammering. "Just my job, sir. Tito's walk is done $20." Rick tossed a 10, sneering. "Keep the change. And lose the gay shit around my block. We got standards." He stormed off, but not before snapping a photo Mason's face, stunned and small. By evening, the venom spread, texts from unknown numbers. "Faggot dogwalker spotted." Posted to a local Facebook group. Alex fumed when Mason showed him, pacing the tiny living room. "Block M. Report it. This city's got your back or mine. At least." But the poison seeped. The next day, a client canceled, citing vibes. Whispers followed Mason on leashes, two poodles now. They're prancing a farce against his churning gut, Lucky sensed it, sticking close during off hours. His nudges insistent. One rainy twilight, as Mason trudged home soaked, a pickup truck slowed at the curb. The driver, Rick's buddy, face twisted in road rage, red, leaned out. Heard you're recruiting strays. How about this? He hurled a half-full Slurpee, blue raspberry staining Mason's jacket like a bruise. He stumbled into an alley, gasping, the cold slush seeping to bone. Lucky, off-leash for the dash, exploded from the shadows, a blur of fur and fury, barreling at the truck with barks that echoed like thunder. The vehicle peeled away, tires squealing, leaving Mason trembling against brick. The dog returned, licking his face frantic, as if apologizing for the near miss. Good boy. Mason choked, burying his face in wet fur. You saved me. Alex was waiting with hot cocoa and a plan when they burst in. That's it. We're documenting this crap. And tomorrow, you meet my crew at the Cafe Solidarity brunch. The gathering was a whirlwind, drag queens in muumuus, trans baristas with tattoos like manifestos, all circling Mason with hugs and horror stories of their own. Honey, Rick sounds like my ex's cousin, one quipped, passing a joint. But we rise. Always. Laughter mixed with tears. Lucky the center of a petting zoo, his tail a metronome of morale. That night, vulnerability peaked. Mason straddled Alex on the bed, kisses fierce, bodies colliding in a bid to outrun fear. Don't let me go? He gasped, nails raking shoulders. Alex flipped them, eyes fierce. Never. You're my line in the sand. Dawn found them entwined. Lucky snores a lullaby. But the envelope peeked from the dog's collar during a routine scratch, the lawyer's seal taunting. Mason's fingers hovered, heart pounding. Soon, he promised himself. The city's underbelly had shown teeth, but so had his allies. Survival wasn't solo anymore. As autumn deepened, leaves carpeting sidewalks in fire, Mason's sketches evolved from solitary figures to ensembles, capturing the cafe's chaos. Alex's laugh lines, Lucky's vigilant gaze. He sold a few online, pixels of pain turning profit, enough for art supplies and a second-hand easel crammed in the corner. But dreams dredged ghosts. Nightmares of the airport morphed into Elias's face, though he didn't know the name yet, pale and pleading. A phantom dog at his heels. Waking sweat slick, Mason would reach for the envelope, only to recoil. What if opening it shattered this borrowed peace? Alex noticed the hauntings, pulling him into rooftop talks under starless skies. Talk. Babe. That thing's eating you. One chilly evening, bundled in shared blankets, Mason relented. He slit the tape with a kitchen knife, paper crinkling like dry bones. The letter unfolded, typed lines from Grant and Associates, dated a year prior. To the finder of Lucky, my son, Elias, left this legacy. He was gay, brilliant, broken by a world that demanded straight lines. The attached check $500,000 is yours, but only if you use it to build what he couldn't, safe spaces for kids like us. Prove your heart by keeping his boy. Love. Miriam Grant. Photos tumbled out. Elias, 22. With Lucky as a pup smiling at a pride parade, arm around a boyfriend. Alone in a hospital gown. Fur-lined snaking. Eyes hollow from the fight against the world and itself. The suicide note. Copied Mom. I tried. The hate was louder than my heart. Let Lucky find someone who gets it. Mason's sob echoed. Alex's arms tightening. Holy shit. This dog's a time capsule. Flashbacks gripped Mason that week. Unbidden parallels. Elias's Ohio roots mirrored his own same stifling towns. Church steeples looming like judges. He'd hidden crushes in comic books. Elias in poetry slams. Both cracking under familial weight. One night, poring over the photos by lamplight, Mason traced Elias's jaw so like Alex's. Strong yet soft. He looks free, even in pain. Alex kissed his knuckles. Like you. We'll honor this. Call the lawyer. The meeting was surreal, a sleek loop office. Miriam across the desk, silver-streaked hair. Eyes like Elias's. Brimming. I searched months. She said. Voice quavering. Billboards. Shelters. When the airport tip came your story. The fight I knew. No demand for Lucky. Instead, a hug that smelled of lavender and loss. Elias would have loved you. Keep the fund for now. Build something beautiful. She left a card, promising coffee, and Mason clutched it like a talisman. The revelation fueled fire. Mason's art exploded murals for the cafe, depicting Elias and Lucky as guardians. Rainbows weaving through thorns. Locals buzzed. Sales spiked. But so did scrutiny. Rick's harassment escalated, slashed tires on a client's Prius. Anonymous emails to the dog-walking app. Freak's got a dead fag's money now. Watch your back. Alex installed a deadbolt. But fear festered. Lucky, sensing storms, shadowed Mason closer. His barks a ward against shadows. Romance deepened in the tension's forge. A stolen weekend at a Lake Michigan cabin, Alex's surprise. Packed with wine and watercolors. They painted each other nude by firelight. Bodies later echoing strokes on flannel sheets. Forever. Mason whispered, tracing Alex's collarbone. Till the stars burn out. Came the vow. Lucky chased waves on the shore. Envelopes ghost laid to rest in shared purpose. But Chicago called back. And with it, the gathering gale. Winter whispered in with first snows, blanketing the city in hush. Mason and Alex's life wove tighter shared shifts at the beanery, where he barista-ed now, frothing lattes with flair. Lucky became mascot, greeting patrons with paw shakes, his tag polished to reveal the story in snippets. Whispers of the fund drew interest, queer orgs emailing. Visions of a youth center blooming. Elias's haven. Mason sketched the sign. Hearts in the H. But paradise had serpents. The getaway was meant as Respetia trained to Milwaukee for a folk fest. Alex's treat. The club car rattled north. Lucky crated below. Their hands linked over checkers. Laughter flowed easy. But at the venue, smoke-hazed hall pulsing with banjos, Mason's phone lit. Miriam. The story leaked. Reporters at my door. Yours. Dread pulled. Back in Chicago. Chaos waited, news vans outside the apartment. Headlines screaming, stray dogs, millionaire mystery, gay teens windfall from suicide pact. It wasn't accurate, twisted by Rick's vengeful posts, painting Mason as opportunist. Gold-digging queer preying on tragedy. Hate mail flooded, slurs scrawled on cafe windows. Eggs splattered on the stoop. Alex barricaded with trash bins. But a brick through the pane that night shattered more than glass. Get out. It read. Shards glittering like accusations. Lucky howled, pinning Mason protectively as Alex called cops who arrived slow. Dismissive. Kids being kids. One shrugged. Miriam arrived at dawn. Coat dusted white. Bearing coffee and steel. Elias faced this. We fight smarter. She revealed more, Elias's journals. Loaned for the center pages of poetry raw as open veins. Love letters to a lost boyfriend. Manifestos against conversion camps. Reading by flashlight. Mason wept for the echo. I am not broken. The mirror is. Inspired. He rallied the cafe crew for oppressor defiant. Unbowed. Cameras flashed. Alex's hand in his anchor. This isn't about money, Mason declared. Voice steady. It's about lives saved. Elias's gift demands we pay it forward. The backlash peaked midweek, a rally outside the beanery. Rick at the helm with pickets, protect our kids from deviants. Fueled by church pamphlets. Mason watched from the window. Gut churning. Lucky's growl vibrating. Alex barred the door. But when a bottle arced toward the glass, the dog lunged, smashing through, tackling the thrower in a flurry of fur and fury. Chaos erupted, shouts. Sirens. Rick fleeing as Lucky stood guard. And scathed sentinel. In the aftermath, bruised but unbroken, Mason and Alex collapsed on the couch. Lucky bandaged by a vet friend. Hero, Mason murmured, kissing the dog's muzzle. Alex pulled him close. We all are. The incident went viral, positive spin this time. Guardian Pooch saves queer cafe, donations surging for the haven. Romance reignited in the rubble, slow dances in the wreckage. Bodies healing wounds with heat. Marry me. Alex breathed one night. Ring from a pawnshop gumball box. Hell yes. Mason laughed through tears. But the eye of the storm hid deeper. Tempestuous mother's shadow loomed. A call unanswered. Spring thawed the ice. But not the chill in Mason's veins. The haven took shoppy leased space in Boys Town. Walls primed for murals. Elias's journals inspiring workshops. Volunteers poured in, Miriam teaching poetry. Alex handling logistics. Lucky the unofficial therapist with his empathy licks. Mason's art bloomed, exhibits selling out. Proceeds seeding the fund. Yet success spotlighted scars. A package arrived, his mom's handwriting. Ohio postmark. Inside. A check, guilt, money, and a letter. Saw you on TV. Proud. Or still ashamed. Come home. Rage boiled. But hurt undercut it. Alex found him shredding sketches. Eyes wild. Don't let her poison this. They drove to the airport, not O'Hare. But midway. Neutral ground for the confrontation, Miriam mediated. His mom waited at arrivals. Older in the lines around her eyes. Clutching a purse like a shield. Mason. The word cracked. And she pulled him into an embrace he stiffened against. I was scared. Your dad. The town. But leaving you. My nightmare. Words warred, accusations flying. You called me too gay. Like it's a disease. Defenses crumbling, I prayed. Begged God to fix us both. Miriam interjected gently. Sharing Elias's loss. Hate kills slower than bullets. Don't let it claim another. Tears flowed. Lucky's head in Mason's lap a bridge. Hours in a terminal cafe. Stories unearthed his dad's own buried secrets. A brother long silent. Forgiveness flickered. Tentative, I need time. Mason said. But the doors cracked. Back home. The reconciliation rippled. Alex proposed properly kneeling in the Haven's half-built lobby. Ring upgraded with Haven funds. Build a life with me. Guests cheered Cave fam. Miriam beaming. Nights blurred into passion. Bodies celebrating survival. Alex's hands worshipping. Mason's moans a mantra of release. Lucky approved with tail wags. But Rick's ghost lingered a court date pending. Harassment charges stacking. The trial was a circus, Rick blustering on stand. Just words. Your Honor. But evidence mounted texts. Witnesses. Lucky's vet bill as Exhibit A. Mason testified. Voice unwavering. Words like his echo the ones that drove Elias to despair. They wound. The judge's gavel fell restraining order. Community service at the Haven. Victory tasted bittersweet. A step toward justice in a world still crooked. Summer swelled the Haven's doors, kids spilling stories in circles. Art therapy easing burdens. Mason mentored a teen like his younger self timid. Sketching hidden loves. You're enough. He echoed Elias's words. Alex's ring glinted as they locked eyes across the room. Love a quiet revolution. But peace was prelude to pandemonium. The Haven's launch party ribbons snipped under rainbow banners drew crowds. But so did foes. Rick, seething from mandated shifts mopping floors. Rallied stragglers, a midnight mob. Torches flickering like old clan ghosts. Chanting slurs outside the gates. Mason woke to shattering glass. Alarms blaring. Alex. He bolted downstairs. Lucky streaking ahead. To find flames licking the mural wall his tribute to Elias. Charring. Fire trucks wailed. But the damage etched deep, beams scorched. Journals singed. A kid's painting curled black. Reporters swarmed Dawn's light. Framing it, hate arson at Queer Youth Center. Inside, Alex cradled a sobbing volunteer. Soot streaked. Bastards won't win. Mason nodded. Fury forging resolve. Lucky. Nose to ground. Sniffed the debris pausing at a dropped wallet. Rick's ID glaring. Gotcha. Mason whispered. The chase was relentless, cops raiding Rick's garage. Finding gasoline cans. Manifestos printed from church bulletins. Interrogation room footage leaked Mason watching Rick crumble. It was a warning. Not. But the evidence damned. Fingerprints on the can. Tire treads matching the escape van. Bail denied. Trial fast-tracked. Mason's testimony sealed it. This isn't abstract. It's Elias's echo. My mom's regret. Every kid here fighting to breathe. Courtroom electric. Alex's hand in his under the bench. Rick's glare burned. But the jury diverse faces. Some teary delivered, guilty. 10 years. Cheers erupted outside. Pride flags waving like victory sails. The Haven rebuilt stronger, donations doubling. Murals repainted bolder. Romance crested in the triumph. A rooftop vow renewal. Stars witnessing. Lucky bearing the rings in his collar envelope, long cherished as relic. Yet climax crested personal. Mason's mom at the sentencing. Uninvited but unyielding. I flew in. For you. Post-verdict coffee turned confessional left therapy. Joined PFLAG. Lobbied town council against conversion bans. You saved me too. Son. Hug this time. Genuine. Lucky mediating with licks. Forgiveness flowered. Thorny but true. Autumn circled back. Leaves gold as the rings on their fingers. The wedding was intimate Haven courtyard. Strung lights twinkling. Elias's photo on a memory table. Guests, cafe kin. Miriam as mother of the groom stand-in. Mason's mom in the front row. Eyes shining. Vows exchanged. Alex's in chaos and calm. You're my north. Mason's from airport ashes to this altar. You and Lucky rebuilt me. Lucky. Bowtie ask you. Paraded the aisle with rings. Tail a blur of joy. Honeymoon was local Lakeshore Drive. Picnics with wine. Bodies lazy in motel sheets. Think Elias is smiling. Mason mused. Head on Alex's chest. Beaming. He orchestrated this. Back. The Haven thrived. Beds for runaways. Art walls alive. A wing named for Lucky Paw's promise. Mason's exhibits toured. Books of sketches born. Proceeds eternal. Years layered, adoptions talked. A family sketched in dreams. His mom visited monthly. Baking pies that tasted of mending. Rick's appeals failed. His cell a mirror to reckon. One eve. Sunset gilding the lake. Mason walked Lucky older now. Gray-muzzled Alex's arm linked. From too gay to this. He marveled. Alex kissed his temple. Never too anything. Just right. The dog's head lifted. Eyes still melted chocolate. Secret long unveiled but spirit undimmed. In that gaze, Mason saw it all, abandonment alchemized to abundance. Hate to heart. Life's plot twisted. But love fierce. Flawed. Found wrote the redemptive end. And so they walked on. A pack unbreakable. Into the narrative's gentle close.